الشيخ. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت باركت على إبراهيم وآل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم اغفر لنا ولشيخنا ولوالدينا أجمعين. يقول الناظم رحمه الله: وضده تزاحم المفاسد يرتكب الأدنى من المفاسد. The poet says, the 14th line, and the opposite is the collision of harms, so the least of the evils is adopted.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. أما بعد، قد ذكرنا في آخر قاعدة في البيت الثالث عشر.
We mentioned the last principle, that the 10th line.
أن المصالح إذا تزاحمت في المحل الواحد،
if there's benefits which collide in one situation,
قدمنا أعلاها.
we give precedence to the better of the two benefits.
وأما إذا تزاحمت المفاسد في المحل الواحد،
now if the harms were to collide in one situation,
فنقدم أقلها وأدناها.
we give precedence to the least of the evils.
والأدلة على هذا كثيرة.
And there's so many proofs for this.
منها حديث الأعرابي الذي بال في المسجد.
From them is the hadith of the Bedouin who came and urinated in the masjid.
الأعرابي متى شعر بأنه بحاجة للبول أخذ ناحية وبال.
The Bedouin, when he felt the urge of urinating, he just took one of the corners and he urinated there.
فدخل أعرابي مسجد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
So he came to the masjid.
وبعد الصلاة شعر أنه بحاجة لبول.
And after praying, he felt like he wanted to urinate.
والعدد كان في المسجد قليل.
And there wasn't so many people.
فذهب إلى ناحية من نواحي المسجد وبال.
He went to one of the corners of the masjid and he urinated there.
فرآه الأصحاب فزجروه.
So the companions saw him and they reprimanded him.
فرآه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال لا تزرموه.
So the Prophet ﷺ saw that and he said to the companions, do not disturb him.
دعوه يتمم بوله.
Let him finish his urination.
فلما فرغ من بوله،
so when he finished,
جاء إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
he came to the Prophet ﷺ
فقال
and he said,
اللهم ارحمني ومحمدا.
Oh Allah, have mercy on me and Muhammad.
ولا ترحم معنا أحد.
And do not have mercy on anybody else other than us.
لأن الصحابة
Because the Sahaba,
قد أنكروا عليه.
they reprimanded him.
فهذا الأعرابي لو أنه ما بال في مكان واحد،
So this Bedouin, if he did not urinate in one place,
الذي أمر فيه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم،
where the Prophet ﷺ commanded that he be left,
لتناثرت النجاسة في جميع أنحاء المسجد.
if he was to be disturbed, then the najasa will be spread in a big portion of the masjid.
ولظهرت عورته أمام الناس وهو قائم.
And his aura will be shown to the people.
فالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم اختار أقل المفاسد.
So the Prophet ﷺ chose the less of the evils.
يكون البول في مكان واحد.
That the urine is in one place.
ويستر على هذا الإنسان.
And he is not exposed.
فمتى الإنسان وقع في مفاسد لابد أن يقع فيها يختار الأقل.
So whenever somebody has to fall into one of the evils, he chooses the less of the one.
وهذا أمر يلزمكم كثيرا في هذه الديار.
And this is something which happens to us, to you, most of the time in this land.
إذا كان عندك طعامان،
if you have two types of food,
أحدهما حرام خالص،
one of it is purely haram,
والآخر فيه شبهة،
one of it is just doubtful,
فالذي فيه شبهة يقدم على الحرام.
so you give precedence or you choose the one which is just doubtful over the one which is purely haram.
شرط لا يكون هنالك طعام ثالث.
But this is a condition that there isn't a third type of food.
إذا وجد الحلال يحرم أن نأخذ المشبوه أو الحرام.
If the halal is present, it is haram for us to take the one which is doubtful or which is purely haram.
وإذا أراد الإنسان لابد أن يقع في مخالفة، إما حرام وإما مكروه، يقع في المكروه يترك الحرام.
And if somebody has to, there's no other way that he has to fall into something which is not good, either haram, which is purely impermissible, or makruh, detested, he chooses the detestful one.
وقد أقبل بالشيء الذي فيه فساد قليل لأدرأ الفساد الكثير.
He chose the one which is lesser evil to push away and repel the one which is bigger evil.
لو أن رجلا عنده ولد لا يصلي.
Let's say somebody has a child who does not pray.
لا يطرده من البيت.
He does not chase him out of the house.
لو طرده من البيت.
Because if he does this,
سيخرج.
he'll go out.
ثم سيذهب إلى المخدرات وإلى الخمر وإلى الزنا.
He'll become somebody who drinks intoxicants. He'll go into zina.
فنرتكب أقل المحاذير.
So we choose the less of the evils.
إن كان لابد من الوقوع في المحذور نرتكب الأقل.
So if there's no way that other than you have to fall into an evil thing which is or sinful, you choose the lesser one.
مثلا كما يقول الفقهاء.
Like how the scholars said.
لو أن امرأة أخذها الكفار أسيرة.
Like let's say a woman was taken as a captive by the non-believers.
واستطاعت أن تهرب.
And she was able to run, flee.
لا تقول السفر ممنوع إلا مع محرم.
She will not say that it is not permissible for the Muslim woman to travel without a mahram.
فتهرب دون محرم.
So she has now to flee without the mahram.
سفرها دون محرم.
Her traveling without the mahram.
مخالفة أقل من مخالفة البقاء في الأسر عند الكفار.
It is a lesser evil than her actually staying in captivity to the disbelievers.
على أي القاعدة عند العلماء أن درء المفاسد مقدم على جلب المصالح.
The point is the principle according to the scholars how they put it, they say pushing away the evil is given precedence over bringing benefits.
وذكر الإمام ابن القيم على هذه القاعدة في كتابه إعلام الموقعين.
And Imam al-Qayyim in his book إعلام الموقعين he mentioned for this principle
99 دليلا.
99 proofs.
ثم قال
Then he said
لنكتفي بهذا المقدار وهو على عدد أسماء الله الحسنى.
We suffice with this number and this is the number of the names of Allah.
ومن هذه الأدلة مثلا في كتاب الله عز وجل.
And examples for this principle in the book of Allah.
قوله تعالى في سورة الأنعام.
The statement of Allah in Surah Al-An'am.
ولا تسبوا الذين يدعون من دون الله.
What means do not curse those whom they worship other than Allah.
فيسب الله عدوا بغير علم.
Lest they will curse Allah with their ignorance.
إذا شتمنا آلهة الكفار.
If we were to curse the gods of the disbelievers.
وهي آلهة باطلة.
And they are invalid gods.
تستحق الشتم.
They do deserve to be cursed.
ولكن يترتب على شتمنا لآلهتهم.
But this cursing of ours on their gods.
أن يشتموا ربنا الله جل في علاه.
If it brings about that they will start to curse Allah.
فيحرم علينا أن نشتم آلهتهم.
It is impermissible for us to curse their gods.
حتى لا يشتم الله عدوا بغير.
So that they don't curse Allah with their ignorance, with enmity.
هذا الذي يسمى عند العلماء.
This is what is called by the scholars
سد الذريعة.
blocking the way.
ونحن نمتنع عن أي عمل فيه شتم لآلهتهم حتى لا يشتموا ربنا.
So we stay away from cursing any of their gods so that they don't curse Allah.
فالخمر حرام التجارة فيه.
So alcohol is haram to trade in it.
وإن كانت فيه منافع.
Even though there's some benefit.
فسد الذريعة درء المفسدة.
So repelling the harm.
درء المفسدة مقدم على جلب المصلحة.
Repelling the harm is given precedence than bringing the benefit.
كذلك العلماء يذكرون مثلا لو أن لرجل أختا.
Let's say also the scholars say as an example if someone had two sisters.
ولكنه لا يعرف هذه الأخت له من هي بالضبط.
But one of the sisters he does not know her.
مثلا لو أن امرأة ابنة لامرأة رضعت مع أمك.
Let's say there's a woman who breastfed with you from your mother.
وأنت لا تعرف أي البنات لها 5 بنات مثلا.
Let's say she has 5 daughters.
ولا تعرف أي البنات رضعت من أمك.
And you don't know which is the one who breastfed with you from your mother.
فيحرم عليك أن تتزوج أي ابنة من ال5 هؤلاء. 5 لا تتزوجهم.
It now becomes impermissible to you to marry any of them because you don't know which one of them it is.
درء المفسدة مقدم على جلب المصلحة.
Because repelling the harm, it is given precedence to bringing the benefit.
لأن النساء كثر.
Because there's so many women.
والمحرمات محصورات قليلات.
And the things which are impermissible, they are very limited.
1 من 5.
1 in 5.
لكن لو قيل لك امرأة من تورنتو هي لك أخت في الرضاعة.
But it was said to you there's a woman in Toronto, she's a sister of yours by suckling.
النساء غير محصورات غير معدودات.
There's a women are not limited.
فلك أن تتزوج أي امرأة من تورنتو.
You can marry any woman in Toronto.
ففرق بين الصورتين.
So there's difference between the two situations.
في أمثلة كثيرة معروفة عند العلماء.
So there's so many examples which are known by the scholars.
تذكرون أني قلت لكم في الدرس الماضي
You remember that I said to you in last class
أن المحرمات على درجات.
that the harmful things are in degrees also.
ليست المحرمات في درجة واحدة.
The impermissible things, they're not at one level.
فهنالك مفاضلة بين المحرمات.
There's differences in them.
أسألكم الآن.
Now I ask you.
الخمر حرام.
Alcohol is impermissible.
الحشيش مخدرات حشيشة حرام ولا ليس حرام؟
Hashish, the intoxicant, is haram or not?
أيهما أشد الخمر أم الحشيش؟
Which one is more evil, alcohol or the hashish?
ما هو حكم من يشرب الحشيش؟
What is the ruling of the one who smokes that?
يجلد كشارب الخمر؟
Is he whipped like the one who drinks alcohol?
ما هي العلة في تحريم الخمر؟
What is the reason for the impermissibility of alcohol?
لماذا سميت الخمر خمرا؟
Why is it called khamr in Arabic?
لأنها تخمر العقل.
Because it engulfs, it covers the brain, the intellect.
تسكر الإنسان.
It intoxicates you.
فالذي يتعاطى الحشيش ويسكر كالذي يشرب الخمر ويسكر.
So the one who smokes hashish and he becomes intoxicated is like the one who drank alcohol and became intoxicated.
ولذا قال شيخ الإسلام في كتابه السياسة الشرعية.
That's why Shaykh al-Islam said in his book سياسة الشرعية
أن الذي يتعاطى الحشيش
that the one who smokes hashish
والمخدرات
and the other intoxicants,
يجلد كشارب الخمر.
he is whipped just like the one who drank alcohol.
لكن بقي السؤال.
But now there's a question.
أيهما أشد الخمر أم الحشيش؟
Which one is more evil, alcohol or the hashish?
إيش تعلمنا نحن؟
What did we learn?
أن التفصيل هو الصواب.
That giving details, that is the correct answer.
التفصيل هو الآتي.
Tafsil, that is the best way.
الذي يشرب الخمر
Now this is the details. The one who drinks alcohol,
أشد ضررا على الناس والمجتمع
he has more evil to the people and the society
من الذي يتعاطى الحشيش.
than the one who just smokes hashish.
والذي يتعاطى الحشيش
Then the one who smokes hashish,
أشد ضررا على نفسه
he has more harm on himself
ممن يتعاطى الخمر.
than the one who actually drinks alcohol.
هذا هو الصواب.
This is the correct answer.
هنالك قاعدة مهمة لها صلة بهذه القاعدة.
Now here there is another principle which is very important. It's connected to this principle.
لا أجد مجالا لأن أتجاوزها.
I cannot just pass by it.
هذه القاعدة تقول
It says
المنهي عنه شرعا
what is prohibited in the legislation,
لا يعامل معاملة المعدوم حسا.
it is not to be taken or considered as if it is unpresent, it is not present.
وهذه القاعدة مفيدة في كل مكان.
And this is something which benefits in every place.
دليلها قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم
Its proof is the statement of the Prophet ﷺ,
إن تولى عليكم
if there was leaders over you,
عبد
a slave,
حبشي
he is Ethiopian,
رأسه كالزبيبة
his head is like raisin,
فاسمعوا له وأطيعوا.
then listen and obey him.
علماؤنا يقولون
Our scholars say
يشترط في الخليفة
it is conditioned for somebody to be the leader.
شروطا منها.
There is conditions from them.
أولا أن يكون حرا لا عبدا.
That first, the leader has to be somebody who's free, not a slave.
ثانيا أن يكون من قريش.
And second, he has to be from Quraysh.
لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول
Because the Prophet ﷺ says
الأئمة من قريش.
the leaders are from Quraysh.
وثالثا أن يكون سليم الحواس.
And third, that he is free from any deficiencies.
لائق المنظر.
Meaning he looks good, his stature also.
النبي يقول صلى الله عليه وسلم في الحديث
The Prophet ﷺ says
إذا أصبح عليكم خليفة
when somebody becomes to you a leader,
حر وليس بعبد.
he has to be free and not a slave.
حبشي وليس بقرشي.
عبد ليس بحر.
حبشي من الحبشة.
أولا هو عبد ليس بحر.
نعم. الثاني حبشي وليس بقرشي.
He is a slave, is not free, and second, he is from Habash, is not Quraysh, he is not from Quraysh, Abyssinian or Ethiopian.
رأسه كالزبيبة أي شكله غير لائق المنظر.
His head is like a razor, meaning he doesn't look good physically.
يقول اسمعوا له وأطيعوا.
Even then the Prophet ﷺ said, listen and obey him.
فمع وجود هذه المخالفات.
So even with the presence of these things which are contradicting,
لم يعاملها الشرع كأنها غير موجودة غير محسوسة.
the legislation did not take this or consider this as if it is not present.
بل أقام لها وجودا وحضورا.
But the Sharia, the legislation, considered it as if it is present.
الربا ممنوع. الربا
usually is haram, and there's types of it.
لو أن مسلما كان له حساب ربوي في بنك.
Let's say somebody has an account which it is interest based in the bank.
ثم تاب.
Then he repented.
وأصبح له في عند البنك مال بربا.
And now he still has in his account the wealth from the riba.
كيف يتعامل مع هذا المال؟
What does he do with this wealth?
يتركه للبنك أم يأخذه؟
Does he leave it for the bank or does he take it?
الربا منهي عنه شرعا.
Of course, riba is prohibited in the Sharia.
لا نعامله معاملة المعدوم حسا.
We don't treat it as if it is not present.
نعامله معاملة الشيء الحاضر الموجود.
We take it and we consider it when we act upon it as if it is something which is present.
نأخذه.
We take it,
ولا نستفيد منه.
but we don't benefit from it.
بقول الله عز وجل.
By the statement of Allah,
فإن تبتم.
when you repent,
أي من الربا.
meaning from usury,
فلكم رؤوس أموالكم لا تظلمون ولا تظلمون.
For you is the capital, your own wealth. You will not be oppressed and you will not oppress.
فتأخذ هذا الربا.
You take that riba
وتتصدق به على مصالح المسلمين.
and you give it in charity for the benefits of the Muslims.
تضعه في هذا المسجد في إيجار هذا المسجد.
You give it, let's say, for the good running of the masjid.
أو تتصدق فيه على أي مصلحة من مصالح المسلمين.
Or you give it in charity for any of the benefits of the Muslims.
تأمل معي.
Now pay attention with me.
إذا تزاحمت المفاسد نختار أدناها.
When the evils or harms they collide, we take the lesser one.
إذا المفاسد قائمة واعتبرناها كأنها موجودة وليست معدومة.
So these evils or harms we consider them as if they are present, not that they don't exist.
واستفدنا أحكاما من واقعها.
And we have benefited with rulings from this current affair.
فالشرع جاء بأمر مثالي لكن ليست المثالية الأفلاطونية الخيالية.
But so you see the legislation came with rulings which have examples. They are real life examples, not just hypotheses.
وإنما تعامل مع الناس وهو يعلم ضعفهم وقصورهم ومخالفاتهم.
The legislation is dealing with the people while knowing that they are falling short and they sin.
وشرع أحكاما وراعى فيه أنهم إذا وقعوا في هذه المخالفات.
And it is legislated rulings, and that if they fall into this,
أخذوا أقل هذه المخالفات.
if they fall into the harms, if they collide, then they take the lesser one.
والذي يقدر أقل هذه المخالفات.
And the one who actually now weighs which is the less of the evils
الفقيه العالم.
is the one who's knowledgeable, one who's a scholar.
أو التقي الذي يخاف الله.
Or the one who's pious, is fearful of Allah.
بعض الناس قد يطيب له الخمر.
Some people, they might find alcohol good to them.
ويترك الماء.
He leaves water for alcohol.
وقد يطيب له الخنزير.
And he might eat pork.
ويترك لحم الضان.
And he leaves the meat of the goat.
هذا لا وزن له في ارتكاب أقل المفاسد.
This one is not considered about what he is choosing of the lesser evils.
هذا عقله فاسد.
His intellect is corrupt.
وقلبه خرب.
His heart is corrupt.
لا عبرة بأن نقول لمثل هذا الناس تختار أقل المفاسد.
There is no point. It is not considered that the likes of these people are the one to choose.
الذي يختار أقل المفاسد الفقيه طالب العلم.
The one who chooses the less of the two evils is the student of knowledge, the one who has fiqh, understanding of the religion.
الذي يخاف الله عز وجل.
The one who fears Allah.
ويحسب أنه سيلقى الله وسيموت.
And he always remembers that he surely will meet Allah, he will be resurrected.
أسألكم.
I ask you.
لو أن رجلا كانت عنده احتاج لأن يأكل وإلا هلك.
If somebody, he doesn't, there's no other way that except that he eats something or he'll pass away.
وعنده ميتة وخنزير.
And he has dead meat and he has pork.
ولا يوجد شيء ثالث.
There's nothing else other than that.
من أيهما يأكل؟ من الميتة من الخنزير.
Which should he choose, the dead meat or the pork?
الميتة.
The brother is saying the dead meat.
لأن الله عز وجل قد أذن بالميتة.
Because Allah permitted the dead meat.
فالأكل من الميتة أحب إلى الله من أكل الخنزير.
So eating from the dead meat is more beloved to Allah than eating the pork.
فالذي يأكل الخنزير
So the one who eats pork,
لا يغار على عرضه.
he does not have jealousy for his own soul.
يرى زوجته وابنته تزني.
He may see his wife or his daughter committing zina,
ولا يتحرك قلبه ولا يغار.
and his heart does not move. He does not have any jealousy or any concern.
الكفار تماما.
Like the disbelievers.
ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله.
There's no might or strength to change except by
هذا
Allah.
للأسف موجود عند بعض المسلمين.
And this is very sadly, but it is present by on some Muslims.
وإلى الله المشتكى.
When our complaint is to Allah.
في أمثلة كثيرة يكفيني هذا.
But there's so many examples, and this is enough.
نأتي للقاعدة التي بعدها.
Now we come to the next principle. يقول الناظم رحمه الله: قاعدة في شرعنا التيسير في كل أمر نابه تعسير. The poet says, this is the 15th line: easiness is a principle in our legislation in every matter where hardship arises.
هذا البيت حوى قاعدة كلية تدخل في جميع أحكام الشريعة.
This principle, or this line, has a principle which is general. Every chapter of fiqh enters under it.
تقول هذه القاعدة
It says
المشقة تجلب التيسير.
that hardship brings about easiness.
وهذه القاعدة عليها أدلة كثيرة.
And this principle has so many proofs.
من كتاب ربنا وأحاديث نبينا صلى الله عليه وسلم.
From the book of our Lord and the hadith of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
يقول الله عز وجل
Allah the Exalted said,
يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر.
what means Allah wants ease for you and does not want hardship for you.
ويقول الله عز وجل
And Allah the Exalted said,
ما يريد الله ليجعل عليكم من حرج.
Allah surely does not want to make for you in your religion any hardship.
ويقول الله عز وجل
And Allah says,
وما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج.
surely Allah did not make in your religion anything which is hard.
لا يوجد في ديننا أي شيء فيه مشقة فيه حرج علينا.
There's nothing in our religion which is just difficult or evil or harmful on us.
الله لا يكلفنا بما لا نستطيع.
Allah does not charge us with what we are not able to.
يقول الله عز وجل
Allah says,
لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها.
Allah does not charge a soul except what it can.
ويقول الله عز وجل
And He says,
لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا ما أتاها.
surely Allah does not charge a soul except with what it has been given.
فالدين أمره سهل ميسور.
So the religion, its matter is easy and very facilitated.
لا يوجد في ديننا آثار وأغلال كما كانت عند من قبلنا.
We don't have in our religion the collars and the chains as it was in the previous nations.
أكثر الناس في دينهم آثار وأغلال اليهود.
The most people whom there's so much difficulty in the religion are the Yahud, the Jews.
فكانوا يشددون فشدد الله عليهم.
They used to become extreme, exaggerating, so Allah became tough on them.
إذا جاءت النجاسة على ثوب اليهودي
If the najasa impurity was to come on the cloth of a Yahudi,
تطهيرها أن يقرضها بالمقراض.
the way to clean it is to just cut it off.
وإذا فعل اليهودي معصية في زمن موسى كان الواحد منهم إذا فعل معصية.
And during the time of Musa, when a Jew used to commit a sin,
كان يستيقظ والمعصية مكتوبة على باب بيته.
he would wake up and that type of sin which he did, it will be written on his door.
فكانوا في شدة.
They used to be in hardship.
والله عز وجل في ديننا رفع عنا الحرج.
And Allah raised away the hardship from us in our religion.
والعسر.
And the difficulty.
الدين إن هذا الدين من الحنيفية السمحة سمح.
As the Prophet said, surely this religion is the religion of monotheism, which is easy.
وحث الشرع على السماحة.
And this religion has encouraged to easiness or leniency.
يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
The Prophet says,
رحم الله عبدا سمحا إذا باع.
The Prophet says, may Allah have mercy on the person who is lenient when he buys.
رحم الله عبدا سمحا إذا اشترى.
He is lenient when he sells and he buys.
رحم الله عبدا سمحا إذا قضى.
May Allah have mercy on the person who is lenient when he judges.
رحم الله عبدا سمحا إذا اقتضى حقه من غيره.
May Allah have mercy on the person who is lenient when he takes the right of others.
فديننا سهل سمح.
So our religion is easy and lenient.
لا يوجد فيه عسر وصعوبة.
We don't have difficulties and hardships in it.
وفي المتفق عليه من حديث عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها.
And from the hadith which is agreed upon from the hadith of Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her,
تقول
she says,
ما خير رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بين أمرين.
the Prophet ﷺ was never given a choice between two things
إلا اختار أيسرهما.
except that you choose the one which is most easier.
من السنة المسلم إذا خير بين أمرين أن يختار الأسهل.
This is from the Sunnah which is authentically reported that if you're choosing between two things, you choose the easier one.
لو كنت ضيفا عند بعض الناس.
If you're a guest to some people,
فقالوا لك ماذا تشرب ماذا تأكل.
if they say to you, what do you drink, what do you eat?
من السنة أن تقول الأيسر الأسهل.
From the Sunnah is for you to say the one which is most easier.
ما خير النبي بين أمرين إلا اختار الأيسر.
The Prophet ﷺ was never given a choice between any two things except that he chose the easier one.
فديننا لا عسر فيه.
So our religion does not have any difficulties.
لكن ديننا فيه تكاليف.
But our religion has responsibilities.
وأوامر شرعية.
Responsibilities, the obligations of the Sharia.
الواجب علينا أن نمتثلها.
We have to actualize and practice them.
وليس امتثالها حرج علينا.
And actually practicing them is not difficult to
بل
us.
فيها سعادتنا وراحتنا.
Rather, that is where our happiness and our good life is in.
هل يوجد في التكاليف الشرعية مشقة؟
Is there any difficulty in the obligations of the Sharia?
ما هو الجواب؟
What is the answer?
يوجد مشقة أو لا يوجد؟
There is difficulty somehow or not?
المشقة موجودة على المكلف.
So the difficulty somehow it is present in the one who's charged with responsibility
من ناحيتين.
in two ways.
الأولى
First,
أن النفس تلزم بهذه التكاليف.
that the person, the soul, he is charged with these responsibilities.
وبعض النفوس
And some souls,
إن ألزمت
when they are charged with something,
شعرت أن الشيء الذي ألزمت به ثقيل مشقة.
they feel as if the thing which they are charged with, they feel it is heavy.
أما العبد الذي قد زكى نفسه
As for the person who has purified his soul
وابتعد عن المعاصي
and he abandons the sins,
فإن التكاليف في حقه سهلة يتلذذ بها.
surely the responsibilities or the obligations in the Sharia, they are so easy for him, he feels happy actually in doing them.
فالصلاة وتلاوة القرآن
Salah and reading the Quran,
غذاء الأرواح.
it is a nutrient for the soul.
والعبد الصالح
And the pious slave,
لما يصلي ويقرأ القرآن
when he is reciting the Quran and when he prays,
هو في لذة
he is in an amusement,
أشد من لذة تناول الطعام الطيب
he is in a delight which is better than actually eating and enjoying the food and drink,
أو إتيان الزوجة.
or even having intercourse with his wife.
هذه اللذة ما بعدها من لذة.
This is a delight, a happiness which is nothing better than it.
لذة مناجاة الله سبحانه.
The happiness and the delight of actually talking to Allah.
من كان هذا حاله
If whoever has this as his condition,
فلا يشعر بالمشقة في العبادة.
he'll never find any hardship in doing the ibadah.
وبعض عباد الله الصالحين
And some of the righteous slaves of Allah,
يرزق الصلاة وهو في القبر وهو في الجنة.
he is blessed with the favor that he actually prays while he's in the grave or in Jannah.
وكذلك الحج
And also Hajj
والعمرة
and Umrah.
وكذلك قراءة القرآن وهو في الجنة.
And also reciting Quran while he's in the Jannah.
وفي المتفق عليه
As in the hadith agreed upon,
أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم
that the Prophet ﷺ,
رأى موسى في المنام
he saw Musa while in a dream.
ورأى الأنبياء حق.
And we know the dreams of the prophets are true.
يهل بحج وعمرة.
He was making the tahleel for Hajj and Umrah.
والنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول
And the Prophet ﷺ says,
إن الأنبياء أحياء في قبورهم يصلون.
surely the prophets, they are alive in their graves, they are praying.
والقبر ليست مدار تكليف.
And we know the grave, that life in the grave is not a place of responsibilities.
والجنة كذلك.
And Jannah also.
فالذي يصلي ويقرأ القرآن في القبر أو في الجنة.
So the one who prays or recites Quran in Jannah or in the grave,
يفعل ذلك تلذذا لا تكليفا.
he does that as an enjoyment and amusement, not as a responsibility he is charged with.
ولذا قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
That's why the Prophet ﷺ said,
يقال لقارئ القرآن يوم القيامة.
on the day of Qiyamah it will be said to the reciter of the Quran,
اقرأ.
read
وارتقي.
and ascend.
فإن منزلتك
Surely your status,
عند آخر آية تقرأها.
it will be the last ayah which you will recite.
قراءة القرآن في الجنة.
Reciting Quran in Jannah,
لحفظة القرآن.
for those who memorize the Quran,
يتلذذون به.
they are delightful, they are amused by it.
والسعيد في هذه الحياة.
And the one who's happy in this life
من وجد قلبه في عبادة ربه.
is who finds his heart is tranquil while worshipping his Lord.
فمن وجد الله.
So the one who finds Allah,
ماذا فقد؟
what has he lost?
ومن فقد الله.
And the one who has lost Allah,
ماذا وجد؟
what has he got?
ما وجد شيء.
Nothing.
فالمشقة موجودة من ناحيتين.
So the difficulties is present in two ways.
الأولى
One,
أن النفس تلزم بهذه العبادة فبعض النفوس التي لم تزكى تستثقل هذه العبادة.
is that, like we said, the souls are charged with their responsibilities, but some of the souls which are not purified, they find it hard, they find this difficulty in doing the obligations.
والأمر الثاني
Now the second thing,
أن العبادة تجب على المكلف على وجه الدوام.
that the ibadas, the acts of worship, they are charged to the person who is responsible in a constant or continuous duration.
فأداء الصلوات
So praying the salawat,
أمره سهل.
it is easy,
لكن المداومة عليها
but to be constant in them,
من التكليف إلى الممات
as a responsibility until you pass away,
هذه المداومة فيها مشقة.
this being constant and always observing it, there's some kind of difficulty in it.
هذان النوعان من المشقة لابد أن يتحملهما المكلف.
So these are the two types of difficulty which everybody who is responsible has to hold them or carry them.
والمكلف إن فعل فعلا
And anybody who's charged when he does something
سواء كان مفروضا أو مسنونا
which is obligatory or voluntary,
فالأصل فيه أن يداوم عليه.
the origin or the principle about it is that he should be constant about it.
ولا ينقطع عنه.
He should not cut it off, leave it.
إذا أردت أن تصوم
When you want to fast
أو تصلي الضحى
or to pray Salatul Duha
أو تقوم الليل
or to stand up for night prayer
أو أن تفعل أي طاعة من الطاعات
or to do any of the acts of worship,
داوم عليه.
be constant in them.
لا تفعل
Do not do it and then leave it.
فالنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يقول
The Prophet ﷺ used to say,
أحب الأعمال أدومها وإن قل.
the best of the deeds is the one which is constant even though it is little, small.
وتقول عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها كما في صحيح مسلم
And Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, said as in Sahih Muslim,
كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عمله ديمة.
the Prophet ﷺ's deeds used to be those which are constant.
وكان إذا عمل عملا أثبته.
When he used to do something, he would be established in it.
ولم يعرف عن السلف الصالح
It is not known from the past predecessors
التحول والتنقل.
moving around and changing about.
في الصباح مؤمن وفي المساء فاسق.
In the morning he is a believer, in the evening he is a transgressor,
في
criminal.
الصباح فاسق وفي المساء مؤمن.
In the morning he is a criminal, a transgressor, in the evening he is a believer.
أحوالهم مع الله هم.
Their condition with Allah is the same.
لا يتقلبون ويتغيرون.
They don't change and flip about.
كانوا على وتيرة واحدة مع الله عز وجل.
They used to be in one line, one condition with Allah.
وكلما تقدم بهم السن
And every time they got older
وقربوا من لقاء الله
and they get closer to meeting to Allah,
أدخلوا أعمالا جديدة
they used to bring and do new types of actions.
وثبتوا عليها.
They used to do new acts of ibadah and they used to be established in them.
ويتقربون إلى الله بفقه.
And they getting closer to Allah by learning the religion,
حتى لو قيل للواحد قبل وفاته
to the point that one of them, it was said to him just before his death,
إنك ستموت غدا
if it was said to him, you'll die tomorrow,
ما استطاع أن يزيد سجدة عما كان يفعله.
he is not able to do anything more than what he's doing right now.
فكلما قربوا إلى الله
Every time they got close to Allah,
اتسعت أعمالهم.
deeds or their actions they got wider extensive.
كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم
As the Prophet said,
من يرد الله به خيرا عسله.
whoever Allah wants good for him,
قالوا وما عسله يا رسول الله.
they said, what is this, Ya Rasulullah?
قال أن يفتح عليه من الخير قبل وفاته.
The Prophet says, whoever Allah wants good for him is that Allah will give him the, like the Sheikh said, the asal. What they asked, what is this, Ya Rasulullah? He said, قال عفوا الشيخ.
عسله.
Make him sweet or sweeten him. عسله من
Asal, he sweetens them. قالوا, they said, what is this, Ya Rasulullah? قال صلى الله عليه وسلم.
أن يفتح عليه من العمل الخير قبل وفاته.
That Allah brings him and facilitates for him to do an act of worship, new acts of worship just before his death.
أما حال الناس اليوم.
As for the condition of the people today,
كلما تقدمت أعمارهم.
every time they get older
وقربوا من ربهم.
and they get close to meet Allah,
لم يبقى إلا شيء قليل من حياتهم.
and there's nothing left of their life except small period of time,
يحرصون على تكثير أموالهم.
they actually
They are diligent to
على تكثير أموالهم.
they are diligent to make more deeds now,
وهم سيتركونها.
and they shall leave it,
ولا يحتاجون إليها.
and they shall not benefit from it,
بل سيحاسبون عليها.
but they'll be counted about it.
هؤلاء في عقولهم شيء.
These ones, they have something in their head.
نسأل الله السلامة.
We ask safety from Allah.
نرجع للقاعدة.
Now we come back to the
بعد هذه
principle
المقدمة.
after this introduction.
نريد أن نفهم القاعدة هذه فهما جيدا.
We have to understand this principle, a good understanding.
القاعدة ماذا تقول؟ المشقة تجلب التيسير.
What does it say? That difficulty brings about ease.
المشقة تجلب التيسير. التيسير الذي تجلبه المشقة
This
هو له ضابط مهم ينبغي أن نعرفه.
This easiness which is brought about by difficulty, it is a very important thing which you have to know.
ذكرنا أن المشقة على نوعين. لا تنسوا هذين النوعين.
We mentioned that the difficulty is in two types. Don't forget those two types.
إلزام النفس مشقة.
That the soul finds the difficulty.
وعمل الطاعة على الدوام مشقة.
And that doing the deeds, the good actions constantly, that is also a type of difficulty.
هنالك تكاليف فيها مشقة زائدة عن هذين النوعين.
Now here there's some acts of worship which have more of a difficulty than these two.
لا يستطيع المكلف أن يداوم عليها إلا برخصة.
Nobody was charged he can actually do them except without an exception.
إما أن يأخذ هذه الرخصة وإما أن ينقطع عن العمل.
Either he takes this exception or he leaves off that action.
فهذا النوع من المشقة وهي المشقة الزائدة عن النوعين السابقين.
So this type of difficulty, which is a difficulty other than those two,
هو الذي يجلب التيسير في الشريعة.
this is the one which brings easiness in the Sharia.
المسافر ليس كالمقيم.
The one who's a traveler is not like the resident.
يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم
The Prophet ﷺ says,
السفر قطعة من عذاب.
traveling is a portion of punishment.
قالوا لبعض العلماء
It was said to some of the scholars,
لماذا السفر قطعة من العذاب؟
why is traveling a portion of a torment or punishment?
قال لأن فيه مفارقة العادة والأحباب.
They said it's because in traveling you are separating from the customs and the people you love.
فالمسافر إذا لم يرخص له بالقصر أو بالجمع بين الصلاتين.
So the traveler, if it was not accepted for him that he either combines the prayers or he shortens them,
يدخل عليه مشقة زائدة عن المشقة بالنوعين المذكورين.
there is more difficulty which comes to him other than the two types of difficulties we mentioned.
فالسفر يجلب التيسير.
So traveling, it brings easiness.
لأن المشقة التي تقع على المسافر مشقة زائدة عن المشقة المعتادة.
Because the difficulty which is brought about to the traveler is that difficulty is more than the one which is always there.
فيجوز للمسافر أن يفطر إن كان في رمضان.
So it is permissible for the one who's traveling not to fast if it is Ramadan.
ويجوز له أن يجمع بين الصلاتين.
And it is permissible for him to combine the two prayers.
ويقصر في الصلاة الرباعية.
And he can shorten the salahs which are 4 rak'ahs.
الظهر
Dhuhr
والعشاء
and
والعصر
Isha.
والعشاء.
Dhuhr and Asr and Isha.
يصليها ركعتين.
He prays 2-2.
ولا يصلي السنن.
He does not pray the sunnahs, the voluntaries.
الأحب إلى الله للمسافر ألا يصلي السنن.
What is more beloved to Allah is that the traveler does not pray the voluntary prayers.
فقط يصلي سنة الفجر والوتر.
Only the voluntary prayer before Fajr and the Witr.
ومع ذلك أن السنة لا يصليها.
But the other voluntary prayers he does not pray them.
ويكتب للمسافر أجره أجر المقيم.
And the traveler, it is written for him the reward of the resident.
الأعمال الصالحة التي كان يفعلها في إقامته
The good deeds which he used to do them while he was a resident,
من تلاوة القرآن وقيام ليل وتصدق والتدريس علم وما شابه.
reciting Quran and praying the night prayer and teaching people the knowledge and giving charity,
يكتب له وهو في سفره.
it is written for him even when he is traveling,
وهو لا يفعله.
even though he is not doing those
هذا
actions.
من رحمة الله بالمسافر.
This is from the mercy of Allah to the traveler.
فلأن المشقة للمسافر مشقة زائدة عن المعتادة جلبت التيسير.
So because the difficulty of the traveler is that difficulty is more than the normal difficulty, it brought about easiness.
وكذلك المرض.
And also sickness.
فالمريض لا يستطيع القيام، قد لا يستطيع القيام.
The sick, maybe is not able to stand,
فيصلي جالس.
so he sits praying.
كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لعمران بن حصين.
As the Prophet ﷺ said to Imran bin Hussein,
وكان به الناسور مرض في الدبر أشد من الباسور.
and he used to have the hemorrhoids, which is a disease which is worse than hemorrhoids.
قال له صلي قائما.
He said to him, pray standing.
فإن لم تستطع فصلي جالسا.
If you cannot do that, pray while sitting.
فإن لم تستطع فعلى جنب.
If you cannot do that, then on your side.
زاد الإمام النسائي بإسناد صحيح.
Imam Nasai has an addition which is authentic.
فإن لا تستطيع على جنب فصلي مستلقيا.
If you cannot pray on your side, then pray while on your back.
لا يوجد عذر للمسلم أن يترك الصلاة.
There's no reason why the Muslim should leave off prayer completely.
وذلك رخص.
There are exceptions. There are allowances. I was looking for that
إذا
one.
جاءت مشقة زائدة.
So if there's more difficult which comes,
ينبغي للمسلم أن يكون فقيها.
the Muslim has to be someone who understands the religion.
لا يجوز له أن يترك الصلاة.
It is not permissible for him to leave off prayer completely.
قد يكبر الإنسان.
Someone may become old.
ويتقدم به السن.
He becomes old.
ويصبح عنده سلس بول.
And let's say he has the disease of continuous urine.
قطرات من البول وهو لا يقدر أن يمسكها.
He has continuous urine flow, and the drops of urine, they come out and he cannot hold them back.
فهذا الواجب عليه.
So this one is upon him,
أن يتوضأ لكل صلاة.
that he makes wudu for every salah
بعد دخول الوقت.
after the time has come in,
ويصلي على حاله.
and he prays in that condition.
فلا يجوز له أبدا أن يترك الصلاة.
It is not allowed for him to leave off the prayer completely.
بعض الناس قد يكون عنده سلس ريح.
Some people, maybe they have the disease of that the gas just comes out continuously
يخرج منه دون إرادته.
without him wanting to relieve the gas.
يتوضأ لكل صلاة.
He makes wudu for every prayer
بعد دخول الوقت.
after the entering of the time of that prayer,
ويصلي على حاله.
and he prays with that condition of his.
ولو كان وهو يصلي يخرج منه بول أو يقطر منه بول أو يخرج ريح.
Even if during his salah the urine was to come out or the gas was to come out.
هذه مشقة.
This is difficult.
تجلب له التيسير.
It brings for him easiness.
ليست تحت قدرته.
It's not with his own under his own ability.
المريض إذا كان ينام ولا يفيق.
Let's say the one who's sick, he's in a coma, let's say.
يجمع بين الصلاتين.
He sleeps and does not wake up. He joins between the two prayers, combines.
قد مثلا المريض ينام بعد الظهر فيستيقظ في الليل.
Let's say somebody is sick, he sleeps after dhuhr and he wakes up at night.
يصلي الظهر والعصر جمعا.
So he has to pray dhuhr and asr together.
وقد يستيقظ بعد المغرب وينام قبل العشاء.
And let's say he wakes up before Maghrib, after Maghrib, and he sleeps before Isha.
أو يستيقظ بعد العشاء.
Or he wakes up after Isha
ولم يصلي المغرب.
and he not pray Maghrib.
يجمع بين الصلاتين.
He combines between two prayers.
سواء جمع تقديم.
Whether it is the combining of bringing it
يصلي
up,
الصلاتين في وقت الأولى.
you pray the two prayers by bringing the later one closer to the first prayer.
أو يصلي الصلاتين في وقت الثانية.
Or you pray the two prayers in the second prayer.
فهذه المشقة تجلب له التيسير.
So these are difficulties which bring about ease for him.
المريض قد لا يستطيع استخدام الماء.
Let's say the one who's sick, he cannot use water.
يتيمم.
He makes tayammum.
ويصلي ويتيمم.
He makes tayammum and he prays.
يضرب بيديه على الحائط.
He strikes with his hands on the wall
ويمسح بوجهه.
and he wipes his face.
يضرب اليدين هكذا.
He strikes his hand. He strikes.
التراب. بعد يقول بسم الله ويضرب اليدين ثم يمسح بوجهه ثم يمسح باليمنى على اليسرى واليسرى على اليمنى ويكون متوضئا.
He strikes his hand on the ground or on the wall like that. Then he wipes his face and he wipes his left on his right hand and his right hand on his left, and he has made wudu like that or tayammum.
هذا عنده مشقة لا يستطيع استخدام الماء.
This one he has difficulty, he is sick, he cannot use water.
إن استخدم الماء
If he was to use water,
قد يزيد الداء.
let's say his sickness would increase.
أو يتأخر الشفاء.
Or his cure, his treatment will be delayed.
فحينئذ يتيمم.
So then he does tayammum.
فالمشقة تجلب التيسير.
So difficulty brings about ease.
المسلم قد يجهل بعض الأحكام.
The Muslim might not know some of the rulings.
إذا كان يجهل.
So if he is ignorant,
فهذا آثم بجهله.
he is sinful by his ignorance.
لكن غير مؤاخذ إذا كان لا يستطيع أن يعلم إلا هذا.
But he will not be accounted for if he has no ability to learn other than this.
دخل رجل في عهد النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إلى المسجد فصلى ركعتين.
During the time of the Prophet ﷺ, a man entered and prayed 2 rak'ahs.
وصلى ركعتين بعجلة على سرعة.
With haste, he was praying them fast.
فقال له النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
So the Prophet ﷺ said to him,
ارجع فصلي فإنك لم تصلي.
go back and pray again, for you did not pray.
هو صحابي وجاء وصلى.
He is a companion, he came and prayed.
لكنه ما ركع واطمأن راكعا ولم يقم مطمئن قائما ولم يسجد يطمئن ساجدا.
He did not make ruku and he stayed there, he was tranquil there. He did not stand up and he was tranquil there. He did not make sujood with tumaniya, he was not tranquil there.
فقال له النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
So the Prophet ﷺ said to him,
ارجع فصلي فإنك لم تصلي.
go back and pray, for you did not pray.
ثم علمه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم ماذا يفعل.
Then the Prophet ﷺ taught him what he should do.
قال له إذا قمت فكبر.
He says to him, when you stand up and you make the takbir,
اقرأ الفاتحة.
then recite al-Fatiha
وتيسر.
and what you can of the other Quran.
واطمئن راكعا.
Then make ruku and stay tranquil there.
ثم اعتدل واطمئن معتدلا.
Then stand up and stay there tranquil.
وهكذا في سائر الأركان.
And like that in all the other pillars of Salah.
لم يأمره النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يعيد الصلوات التي صلاها قبل أن يعلمه كيف يفعل.
The Prophet ﷺ never commanded him to remake or repray all the other salahs before him teaching him on that time.
فالصلوات السابقة
Those previous prayers,
لا يعيدها.
they are not accounted for him. Like,
يجهل لا يعرف الأحكام.
he is not charged that he did not pray because he was ignorant, he does not know.
فالجهل إذا كان إنسان يجهل يفعل شيئا وهو يجهله.
If someone was ignorant, he is doing something was ignorant,
وهو لا يقدر أن يفعل إلا الذي فعل.
and he has no other ability except to do what he is doing,
فهذا معذور بجهله.
he is excused by his ignorance.
والإنسان قد يكره يستكره.
And somebody, he might be,
مستكره يعني يكرهه.
he can be detested, coerced.
وقد ينسى.
Somebody sometimes is coerced, is forced, and sometimes he might forget.
فالذي ينسى أيضا.
And the one who forgets,
هذا ليس تحت قدرته.
it is not under his ability.
فهذا مرفوع عنه التكليف.
He is forgiven for him, or it is removed for him the responsibility.
ولذا الإنسان متى نام عن الصلاة.
Let's say somebody will praying,
يصليها متى استيقظ.
he prays when he wakes up.
ولو استيقظ مثلا بعد طلوع الشمس.
Let's say even if he wakes up after the sun has risen,
الواجب عليه أن يصليها أول استيقاظه.
what is a must on him is that he prays it right after waking up.
وهو نائم القلم عنه مرفوع.
He is sleeping, the pen is risen from him.
وكذلك الإنسان قد ينسى الصلاة.
And somebody can forget about prayer.
يؤذن العصر وهو لما يؤذن العصر يتذكر أنه ما صلى الظهر.
When he hears the adhan of Asr, he remembers, I did not pray the Dhuhr.
هذا غير مكلف.
This one,
هو ناسي.
he will not be charged and taken into account because he was forgetful.
يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
The Prophet ﷺ said,
من نام عن صلاة أو نسيها.
whoever slept on his salah or he forgot it,
فليصليها متى ذكرها.
let him pray it when he remembers.
ولا شيء عليه لا وزر عليه.
And there's no sin on him.
الناسي لا يحاسب على النسيان.
The one who forgot, he'll not be accounted for his forgetfulness.
والنائم لا يحاسب.
And the one who slept, he'll not be accounted for that.
أما أن ينام الإنسان قبل الفجر بساعة.
But the one, let's say somebody sleeps before Fajr 1 hour,
وهو يعلم أنه لا يستيقظ.
and he knows he'll not be able to get up,
ولا يقيم للصلاة حسابا.
and he does not even pay attention to prayer.
فهذا آثم.
This one is sinning
لأنه يعلم أنه لن يصلي الصلاة.
because he knows that he'll not pray the prayer in its proper time.
أما من غلبته عيناه.
But the one who was overcome by sleep,
ولم يستطع إلا أن يقوم بعد طلوع الشمس.
and he had no ability except that he woke up after the sunrise,
فهذا لا شيء عليه.
then this one he has no sin on him.
ومن مظاهر التيسير في شرعنا
And from the things of easiness in our religion,
أن بعض العبادات
that some acts of worship,
أسقطها الله تعالى عن بعض الناس لضعفهم.
Allah dropped them from some kinds of people.
فالجهاد المرأة لا تجاهد
Like the woman, she does not go for jihad,
والصبي الصغير لا يجاهد
and the small child does not go for jihad.
بل الصبي الصغير
But
ليست واجب الصلاة عليه
rather, even the small child, even salah is not a must on him.
لما يصل عمره 7 سنوات
And he reaches 7 years,
يجب على أبيه أن يأمره بالصلاة
it is a must on his father to teach him how to pray.
ولما يصل إلى 10 سنوات
And he gets to 10 years,
الوالد ينتبه إلى ولده ويضربه إن ترك الصلاة.
the father or the parent should pay attention about his child and actually hit him if he does not pray.
يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم
The Prophet ﷺ says,
مروا أولادكم بالصلاة وهم أبناء 7
command your children to pray when they're age of 7,
واضربوهم عليها وهم أبناء 10.
and hit them no?
Discipline them.
and discipline them when they reach their age of 10,
وفرقوا بينهم في المضاجع.
and separate them from their beds.
يحرم الأولاد والبنات في 10 سنوات فأكثر
It is not permissible after the age of 10 and above for the boys and the girls
أن يناموا تحت غطاء واحد.
that they sleep under one cover.
هذا ينام وحده وهذه تنام وحدها.
This one sleeps on his side, on his bed, this one sleeps on his other bed.
هذه توجيهات تربوية نبوية.
These are prophetic ways of cultivation, upbringing.
أمر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الآباء أن يمتثلوها
The Prophet ﷺ commanded the parents to act on this
حتى يعينوا أبنائهم على الصلاة.
so that they can help and aid their children to become those who pray.
أنتم جئتم بأبنائكم إلى هذه الديار
You came with your children to this land
من أجل الدنيا.
because of the dunya,
احرصوا على دينكم
so pay attention to your deen
وعلموا أولادكم
and teach your children
وربوهم
and cultivate them
وأمروهم بالصلاة
and command them to pray
واحضروهم للمساجد
and bring them to the masajid
واجعلوهم يصاحبون أهل الصلاح والتقوى
and let them befriend the people of goodness and righteousness
وعرفوهم على أئمة المساجد والمشايخ والعلماء
and let them and introduce them, let them befriend the imams of the masajid and the mashayikh
حتى ينتفعون
until they benefit,
ويعلمون أنهم مسلمون ويفتخرون بدينهم
so that they know they're Muslims and they feel happy and they're proud about their religion.
وإلا أصبحوا كالكفار نسأل الله العافية.
If that's not the case, they'll become like the kuffar.
أسأل الله لنا ولكم التوفيق.
We ask from Allah facilitation for all of us.
وكذلك بعض الناس قد لا يستطيع أن يفعل بعض التكاليف.
Now, some people, they cannot do some of the acts of worship which they're charged with.
وبعض الناس قد لا يستطيع مثلا الصيام.
Let's say some people, they cannot fast.
فأوجب الشرع على التي لا تستطيع الصيام
So the Sharia has made for the one who cannot fast,
الفدية.
there's the fidya, the paying.
إطعام مسكين عن كل يوم.
Feeding a poor person for every day you do not fast.
فالمسلمة قد تكون حامل في رمضان.
Let's say the woman, the Muslimah, she can be pregnant during Ramadan.
وقد تكون مرضع.
And let's say she can be breastfeeding a child.
وهي لا تستطيع الصيام.
And she cannot fast.
تحتاج للطعام بسبب الحمل.
She requires food because of the pregnancy.
إن لم تأكل وإن صامت يتضرر الجنين.
If she does not eat and if she actually fasts, the fetus, the baby in the womb, it will be harmed.
أو إن صامت وهي مرضع قد لا يوجد حليب للجنين.
Or if he was to fast, if she was to fast, she could not. Let's say if she's breastfeeding, there could not be milk for her.
ولذا الشرع يقول
That's why the Sharia says she does not fast.
إذا استطاعت القضاء تقضي.
If she can remake the fast, she does it.
إذا لا تستطيع القضاء
If she cannot do that,
فحينئذ تطعم عن كل يوم أفطرته مسكينا.
then in that situation she feeds for every day which she did not fast a poor person.
فالمشقة في ديننا إذا وجدت
So if there's difficulty in our religion,
أجلبت التيسير.
it brings about easiness.
صلاة الجماعة واجبة.
Praying in congregation is a must.
لكن إذا وجد عذر كان يكون الإنسان مريضا
But if there's an excuse, if somebody is sick,
أو يكون هنالك برد شديد.
or if it is very cold,
إذا خرج الإنسان للجماعة يتضرر.
if somebody was to come to pray, he'll be harmed.
فحينئذ الجماعة ليست واجبة.
Then in that situation, praying in congregation is not a must.
فالمشقة تجلب التيسير.
So difficulties brings about ease.
فالتيسير له أوجه كثيرة في شرعنا.
So you see, easiness is so many ways, so many So many aspects about it.
أذن الشرع للغني أن يقدم زكاة ماله.
The Sharia has obligated for the one who's rich to give the zakah.
لو كان الحول في رمضان
If it is in Ramadan,
وأنت لك بعض من تعرف بعض الأقارب أو بعض الجيران
and you know some of the neighbors or some of the people you know,
فقراء يحتاجون إلى مساعدة
they are poor and they need help,
تعطيهم من الزكاة قبل رمضان
you give them the zakah before Ramadan.
وتحسب آخر في رمضان تحسب ماذا دفعت وتخصم من الذي دفعت.
And after Ramadan, you look at what you gave and you deduct that basically.
فالتيسير ولله الحمد في شرعنا ظاهر وكبير.
So you see, easiness in our religion, it is very clear and open.
بل قال العلماء
Rather, the scholars said,
لو كان الإنسان يأكل
if somebody was eating
وغص بلقمة
and he was to be choked with a piece of food,
ويحتاج إلى ماء ليسلكها
and he needs food to bring that, needs water to bring that down,
ولم يجد الماء
he does not find water.
ولم يجد إلا الخمر
He does not find except alcohol.
وإن لم يسلكها يهلك.
If he does not drink that to bring that thing which is choking him down, he'll die.
يتناول جرعة لتسليك من الخمر لتسليكها.
He takes one sip just to bring that thing down, to remove the choking.
فالمشقة تجلب التيسير.
So difficulties brings about ease.
وهذا من محاسن ديننا.
And this is from the good characteristics of our religion.
لا يوجد في شرعنا مشقة تكلفها العبد وهو لا يقدر عليها.
In our religion, there's no difficulty which someone has been charged with and he cannot actually do it.
فمتى جاءت مشقة قد لا يقدر عليها العبد.
So whenever there's difficulty where somebody is not able to do it,
علق الشرع الرخص بهذا النوع من المشقة.
then the legislation has put easiness or exceptions or allowances for this difficulty.
وهذا يدلنا على أن الأصل في المسلم إن عمل عملا صالحا
And this shows us that the origin about, or the foundation about the Muslim, he does a good action,
أن يداوم عليه ولا يترك.
that he should be constant and he does not leave it.
والرخص هي التي يكون فيها الترك.
And the easiness or the allowances, they are the ones which you leave them. They're not constant or every time.
أنواع التيسير كثيرة جدا.
The types or aspects of easiness, there's so many.
قد تقع مثلا صلاة الخوف.
Let's say there's a prayer of khawf, prayer of fear. Prayer of fear.
قديما كانوا يصلون وهم يسيفون يضربون بعضهم بعضا بالسيف وهو يصلي بالإيماء.
Like before, they used to pray while they are fighting with swords.
فلا يوجد موضوع الصلاة لا يجوز للمسلم أن يترك الصلاة بأي حال.
There is no situation ever that a Muslim will leave, abandon prayer completely.
قد يجمع بين الصلاتين.
He can combine,
وقد يقصر إذا كان مسافر.
or he can shorten the prayer if he's a traveler.
قد يصلي ركعة بدل 4 ركعات.
He can pray one rakah other than 4
في صلاة الخوف.
in the fear prayer.
لكن لا يتركها.
But he'll never leave it completely.
الذي يجلس في الطائرة.
The one who sits in the plane
ولا يستطيع أن يصلي قائم.
and he cannot pray while standing,
يصلي جالس.
he prays while sitting.
بالإيماء يشير بالإشارة.
By signs or by head, moving his head.
إذا كان لا يعرف القبلة مكة المكرمة.
If he does not know where the Qibla is,
فيقول الله عز وجل
Allah says,
فأينما تولوا فثم وجه الله.
whichever direction you face, you'll find Allah.
فأي جهة توجهت إليها
Any direction you are to face, that is
تصح بها
good.
الصلاة.
Your salah is good.
فإذا لا يوجد في شرعنا تكليف أمرنا الله به لا نقدر عليه.
So we do not have in our Sharia a responsibility which we cannot actually do it.
فأقام الله علينا الحجة.
And Allah has established a proof against us.
الله الذي خلقنا
So Allah, the one who created us,
هو الذي يعرف قدرتنا.
He is the one who knows our abilities.
وما كلفنا فوق قدرتنا.
And He does not charge us with what we cannot do.
ألا له الخلق وله الأمر.
Surely for Him is the command and the creation.
فنحن خلق الله.
We are the creation of Allah.
وهذه الأوامر ممن خلق.
And these conditions are from what He created.
الأمر أمره والخلق خلقه.
So the command is His command and the creation is His creation.
فكن عبدا لله بالاختيار.
So be a slave of Allah by your choice.
كما أنك عبد لله بالاختيار.
Just like how you are a slave of Allah by compulsion or coercion.
فالسعيد من حقق العبودية لله.
So the one who's happy is the one who actualized servitude to Allah.
يكفينا هذا القدر من هذه القاعدة.
So this is enough for this principle.
نأتي للقاعدة التي بعدها.
Now we got the next one.
بل البيت الذي بعده فيه قاعدتان.
Rather the next line it has 2 principles. يقول الناظم رحمه الله وليس واجب بلا اقتدار ولا محرم مع اضطرار. He says, and there is no obligation without ability and no impermissibility during compulsion. With dire necessity. And no impermissibility with dire necessity. Please correct the English.
هذا البيت فيه قاعدتان.
Here there is two principles.
القاعدة الأولى
The first one,
الوجوب يتعلق بالاستطاعة.
that the obligation is conditioned with ability.
فلا واجب مع العجز.
There is no obligation if you are not able.
والقاعدة الثانية
The second one,
لا محرم مع الضرورة.
there's nothing which is impermissible in dire necessity.
فالضروريات تبيح المحظورات.
The thing which are necessary in terms of necessity, they make halal with that which is haram.
والأدلة على هذا كثيرة.
And there's so many proofs for this.
منها قوله سبحانه
From them is His word.
فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم.
So fear Allah to the best of your ability.
الآيات في الأول قال الله عز وجل يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته.
In the beginning of this ayah, Allah says, "Oh, you believe, fear Allah, the rightful fear."
فالصحابة رضي الله تعالى عنهم هذه الآية أتعبتهم.
So this ayah, it was heavy on the Sahaba.
يعسر أن يتقي الإنسان يتقي الله حق تقاته.
It is difficult for the person to fear Allah just like how he deserves to be feared.
فنسخ الله ذلك بقوله
So Allah abrogated that by saying,
فاتقوا الله ما استطعتم.
so fear Allah to the best of your ability.
الواجب علينا أن نتقي الله ما استطعنا.
What is upon us is to fear Allah to the best of our ability.
ولا نستطيع أن نتقي الله حق تقاته.
And we cannot fear Allah the way He deserves to be feared.
ولا واجب إلا مع قدرة.
So there's no obligation without ability.
فإذا كنا نعجز فليس علينا واجب.
If you're not able, then we don't have the obligation.
كما ذكرت لكم.
Just like we mentioned,
لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها.
Allah does not charge the soul except with what it can.
لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا ما أتاها.
Allah does not charge any soul except with what it was given.
ولذا يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم
That's what the Prophet ﷺ says,
إذا أمرتكم بأمر
when I command you to something,
فأتوا منه ما استطعتم.
do it to the best of your ability.
وإذا نهيتكم عن شيء
But if I prohibit you from something,
فاجتنبوه.
stay away from it.
ولم يقل فاجتنبوا منه ما استطعتم.
He did not say stay away from it at the best of your ability.
ترك المنهيات
Leaving off the impermissibilities,
على قدرة لكل مسلم أن يتركها.
every Muslim has the ability to do that.
كل مسلم يستطيع أن يترك الخمر.
Everybody has the ability to live off alcohol and lying.
والكذب والخيانة.
And lying and deception.
والربا.
And riba.
والزنا.
And zina.
فإذا نهيتكم عن شيء فاجتنبوه بالكلية.
The Prophet says, if I prohibit you from something, abandon it completely.
وإذا أمرتكم بأمر
But if I command you to something,
افعلوا منه الذي تقدرون عليه.
do what you can.
الذي لا تقدرون عليه أنتم غير محاسبين عليه.
What you cannot do, then you are not charged with that.
فمثلا إنكار المنكر.
Let's say forbidding the evil.
إنكار المنكر على درجات.
It is in stages.
ليس على درجة واحدة.
It's not in one stage.
إنكار المنكر على 4 درجات.
It is in 4 stages.
الدرجة الأولى
The first one,
إذا أنكرت المنكر وزال هذا المنكر.
if you forbid an evil and it increased the evil actually.
فهذا واجب.
Then now this, if you forbid the evil and it took away the evil, it actually stopped. This is a must for you to forbid.
الدرجة الثانية
The second one,
إذا أنكرت المنكر
or if you forbid an evil
فنقص المنكر.
and it became deficient, it took away, it decreased.
ولم يزل بالكلية.
It did not get away. It is not removed completely,
كالدرجة الأولى.
like the first one.
فهذا واجب أيضا.
Also, this one is a must.
المرحلة الثالثة
The third one,
إذا أنكرت المنكر
if you prohibit an evil
فزال المنكر
and it increased the evil actually.
وحل محله منكر مثله.
نعم.
Evil was removed.
لا زاد المنكر. زال وزاد. طيب الأول وزال بس. زال المنكر. Okay, let me repeat again.
زال المنكر وحل منكر مثله.
The first one Sheikh says, if you forbid an evil and it removed the evil, then it is a must to do that. The second one, if you forbid an evil and it just took away some of the evil, it decreased it, then in that situation also it is a must for you to forbid. In the third situation, if you forbid an evil, but it took away the evil and brought about another evil, then here you don't prohibit that evil.
ففي الإنكار هذا الإنكار محل نظر.
So here you look, you consider.
والمرحلة الرابعة
The fourth one,
إذا زال المنكر
if the evil is passed, it's removed,
وحل محله منكر أكبر منه.
but then arises a greater evil.
فإنكار المنكر منكر.
Now here, forbidding the evil is also evil itself.
كما يقول ابن القيم رحمه الله.
As Ibn Qayyim says,
كنت أمشي مع شيخ ابن تيمية.
I was walking with my Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah,
فرأيت بعض التتر
and
من غزا بغداد.
I saw some of the Tatars who had invaded Baghdad,
وكان يشرب الخمر.
and they were drinking alcohol.
قال فذهبت إليه لأنكر عليه.
So I wanted to go to them, or I went to them to prohibit them.
قال فأخذ شيخي يدي وجرني إليه.
So my Sheikh took me by my hand and drove me back.
وقال اتركه.
And he said to me, leave them.
هذا إذا لم يذكر.
This one, if he does not get intoxicated,
يقتل المسلمين.
he kills the Muslims.
فشربه للخمر.
So him drinking alcohol
أحب إلى الله من صحيانه.
is better for him, is better in front of Allah than him when he's not, what do you say? Sober, when he's sober.
فإذا إنكار المنكر يترتب عليه منكر أكبر منه فالإنكار منكر حرام لا يجوز.
So if forbidding the evil, there arises through it a greater evil, then this forbidding is not allowed. It is not allowed.
إنكار المنكر واجب.
Forbidding the evil is a must.
لكن على إذا كنا نستطيع.
But if you are able,
ففي الصحيحين من حديث أبي سعيد الخدري.
as in the two sahihs from the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri,
يقول النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم.
the Prophet ﷺ says,
من رأى منكم منكرا.
whoever of you sees an evil,
فليغيره بيده.
let him change it or stop it by his hand.
فإن لم يستطع.
If he is not able,
فليغيره بلسانه.
let him change it or stop it by his tongue.
فإن لم يستطع.
If he is not able,
فليغيره بقلبه.
let him change it or stop it by, or reprimand it by, from his heart.
التغيير باليد يكون لأولياء الأمور.
Changing or stopping the evil by the hand is for those who have the leadership, or
الوالد مع ولده.
or those who have authority, like
الزوج مع زوجته.
the parent on his child, or the husband on the wife.
والتغيير باللسان.
And the changing by their tongue
يكون للعلماء وتلاميذهم.
is for the scholars and the students,
عندهم البينات والحجج.
because they have the proofs and they have the clarification.
والتغيير بالقلب.
The changing by the heart
يكون لعوام المسلمين.
is for everybody.
القلب الذي لا إيمان فيه هو القلب الذي يرى المنكر ولا يتغير قلبه.
The heart of which has no iman in it is the heart which sees evil and it does not move, it is not prohibited, that does not look down on that.
من رأى منكرا ولم يغيره بقلبه فلا إيمان في قلبه.
The one who sees an evil and does not change it by his heart, he has no belief in his heart.
انتبهوا.
So pay attention.
كثرة رؤية المنكر يجعل القلب يتعود عليه.
Seeing evil so many times, it makes the heart get accustomed to that.
وهذه مصيبة عظيمة.
This is a great calamity
في دين الله عز وجل.
in the religion of Allah.
النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول.
The Prophet says,
تعرض الفتن على القلوب عودا عودا.
the fitan, the trials and tribulations will be brought to the hearts in stages.
فأيما قلب يشربها.
So any of the heart which drew them or took them,
إلا نكتت فيه نكتة سوداء.
if you drew them or took them, there will be a black dot on his heart.
وأيما قلب أنكرها أنكر الفتن.
And any of the hearts which actually prohibited and did not like those fitan,
إلا نكتت فيه نكتة بيضاء.
there will be a white dot put on the heart.
حتى تصبح القلوب على قلبين.
Until there will be only two types of hearts.
قلب أسود كالكوز مجخيا.
There will be a heart which is so dark,
مجخيا
like the vessel which is turned about, capsized.
لا يعرف معروفا ولا ينكر
He does
منكرا.
not know good and does not forbid evil.
هذا القلب الميت.
This is the dead heart.
المقلوب.
It is changed,
هذا الذي لا يعرف
upside down, does not know good, does not forbid evil.
وقلب أبيض مثل الصفا.
And a heart which is white like safa, which is clear.
لا تضره فتنة ما دامت السماوات والأرض.
The fitan or the trials and tribulations does not harm it as long as the heavens and the earth exist.
أسأل الله أن يجعل قلوبنا من هذا النوع.
We ask Allah to make our hearts from this type,
وأن لا يجعلها كالقلب المقلوب.
and not to make our hearts not to make our hearts those which are turned and capsized.
الواجب في شرع الله
What is a must in the legislation?
لا يتعلق إلا بالاستطاعة.
The obligations are only charged with ability.
فإذا كان الإنسان عاجزا
If someone does not have the ability,
فلا واجب له عليه.
there's no obligation on him.
فإنكار المنكر مثلا واجب. من لم تستطع باليد فباللسان، لم تستطع فبالقلب ويكفي هذا.
So you see, the forbidding of the evil is a must, but if you cannot do it, then you do it by the tongue. If you cannot, then just by the heart.
وهكذا في جميع الأوامر الشرعية.
And likewise in all the other obligations of the Sharia.
ذكرت لكم مثلا قوله سبحانه أو بعض الأحكام التي تخص قول الله سبحانه وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين.
We mentioned some of the situations as per the statement of Allah where He said, and those who cannot fast, they give the fidya.
فالإنسان إذا كان شيخا هرما
Let's say somebody is very old,
أو كان معه مرض مزمن
or he has a constant disease which is always on him,
كمرض السكري مثلا
a disease which is heavy, or it is
أو الضغط
like diabetes,
أو القرحة في المعدة
or he has ulcers
ولا يقدر على الصيام
and he cannot fast,
فيكفيه أن يطعم عن كل يوم مسكينا.
it is enough for him to feed for every day a poor person.
فذكر الإمام البخاري في صحيحه
So Imam Bukhari, he narrated in his Sahih
أن أنس بن مالك لما هرم
that when Anas bin Malik became very old,
وطال عمر أنس
his age, his age was, his lifetime was long.
سليم والدة أنس
Sulaim, the mother of Anas,
قالت للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم
she said to the Prophet ﷺ,
يا رسول الله هذا خويدمك أنس
"Oh Rasulullah, this is your servant Anas.
فادعوا الله له.
So make dua for him."
فقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم
So the Prophet ﷺ said,
اللهم لا تمته
"Oh Allah, do not make him pass away
حتى تطيل عمره
until you make his life long,
وتكسر ولده
and you make him have a progeny which is many children,
وماله.
and his wealth to be much."
فرأى أنس قبل أن يموت أكثر من 300 شخص من صلبه.
So Anas saw before he died more than 300 people from his progeny.
وكثر ماله وكان عنده قصر.
And he was very rich and he had a palace.
وطال به العمر.
And his age, of course, it was long.
وأصبح يدرك رمضان ولا يستطيع الصيام لطول عمره.
And Ramadan used to come and he could not fast because he was very old.
ففي صحيح البخاري
As in Sahih Bukhari,
إذا كان آخر يوم من رمضان
when it was the last day of Ramadan,
جمع أنس بن مالك 30 مسكينا
Anas bin Malik would bring 30 poor people
وأطعمهم
and feed them.
ولم يصم.
And he will not fast Ramadan.
وعلى الذين يطيقونه فدية طعام مسكين.
And those who cannot do it, let them feed the poor people.
العبد لا يستطيع أن يصوم لأنه كبير السن.
Let's say somebody is very old, he cannot fast.
أو لأن عنده مرض السكر
Or maybe he has diabetes or ulcers.
فليس واجبا عليه الصيام.
It is not a must on him to fast.
يطعم مسكين عن كل يوم ويكفيه.
He feeds a poor person for every day, and this is enough.
فمن محاسن شرعنا أن الذي لا يستطيع لا يكلف.
So from the good things about our Sharia is that the one who has no ability, he is not obligation.
فلا واجب مع العجز.
There's no obligation with no ability.
والوجوب في شرع الله يتعلق بالاستطاعة فقط.
And obligations in the legislation of Allah is conditioned with ability only.
هذا القسم الأول من البيت.
This is the first part of the line.
واجب بلا اقتدار.
There's no obligation without ability.
يبقى معنا القسم الثاني من البيت.
Now the second part of the line,
وهو قاعدة مهمة أيضا.
and it is a very important principle.
هذه القاعدة تقول
It says
لا محرم مع ضرورة.
there's no impermissibility with dire necessity.
أو تقول
Or it says also
الضرورات تبيح المحظورات.
during times of dire necessity, the impermissible things become permissible.
وما يباح للضرورة
And what is made permissible by the necessity,
عند تناوله
when you actually do that thing or take it,
لا يسمى حراما.
it is not called haram during that time.
كما ذكر ذلك الحافظ ابن حجر في فتح الباري الجزء الأول صفحة 338.
This is not called haram as Al-Hafiz ibn Hajar mentioned in Fath al-Bari. I did not get the number.
Volume 1338.
Volume 1338.
هنا لابد من التمييز بين ثلاثة أمور.
Here we have to differentiate between three things.
عندنا أشياء في الشرع يسمى الضروريات.
There's some things in the legislation they're called.
وعندنا أشياء تسمى الحاجيات.
There's things in the Sharia which are called things of necessity and things which are called
Necessities and needs.
Necessities and needs.
وعندنا أشياء تسمى الترفيهيات والتحسينيات.
And some things which are just additions or making good.
لابد أن نميز
Pleasures,
بينها.
luxuries. We have to differentiate. There's necessities, needs, and luxuries.
الضروريات
The necessities,
إن لم نأخذ بها
if you do not take them,
يترتب عليها هلاك أو قطع عضو من الأعضاء.
is when for you not to take them, there will be death or you lose one of your limbs.
الحاجيات
The needs,
إن لم نأخذ بها
if you don't take them,
يترتب علينا ضرر وشدة وضيق في الحياة.
you will find difficulty and constriction in your life.
والتحسينيات والترفيهيات
And the luxuries and pleasures,
إن لم نأخذ بها
if you don't take them,
يترتب عليها ترك الراحات
you just live, you don't just get the pleasures
والتمتع بهذه الحياة.
and the enjoying of life.
الضروريات والحاجيات
Necessities and needs,
يجوز أن نفعل المحرمات من أجلها.
we can do the impermissible things because of them. When there's time of necessity.
إذا وجدت ضرورة
When there's a necessity,
فحينئذ هذه الضرورة تحلل الحرام.
during times of dire necessity, this necessity makes the impermissible permissible.
لو كان الإنسان لا يوجد عنده طعام
If someone does not find food
إلا ميتا
except dead meat,
إن لم يأكل مات
if he does not eat, he'll pass away, die.
فله أن يأكل من هذه الميتة بقدر الحاجة.
So then in this situation, he should eat from that dead meat by the need.
كما قال الله عز وجل
As Allah said,
إنما حرم عليكم الميتة والدم
surely what is made impermissible to you is the dead meat and the blood
ولحم الخنزير
and the pork
وما أهل به لغير الله.
and what was slaughtered for other than Allah.
ثم قال بعدها مباشرة
Then he said right after it,
فمن اضطر غير باغ ولا عاد
and the one who is in dire necessity without transgressing and not without going past the limit,
فلا إثم عليه
then there's no sin on him.
إن الله غفور رحيم.
Surely Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful.
الإنسان اضطر أن يأكل من الميتة
Somebody, if he was in dire necessity, he was made to eat from the dead meat.
لا يستطيع أن يقدر المقدار الذي يحتاجه منها.
He cannot he cannot estimate the actual estimate which he needs.
ولذا قال الله في آخر الآية
That's what Allah says
إن الله غفور رحيم.
in the last part of the ayah. Surely Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful.
قد تأخذ أكثر من حاجتك.
You could have eaten more than what you actually need.
لكن لا يجوز أكل الميتة إلا للمضطر.
But you don't. Dead meat is not allowed only for except for only those who are in necessity.
وتأخذ من غير بغي من غير أن تتزود فوق حاجتك.
And you don't take what is more than what you actually need.
لذا قال الله غير باغ ولا عاد.
That's what Allah said, without passing the limits.
وهكذا في أشياء كثيرة.
And like this in all and other things.
لكن العلماء اختلفوا.
But the
المقدار الذي يأكله المسلم من الميتة.
But the scholars differ on the amount which the Muslim eats from the dead meat.
منهم من قال يأخذ ما يسد رمقه.
Some of them said he just eats what covers or takes away his hunger.
ومنهم من زاد فقال يزيد حتى يكسر حدة الجوع.
And some of them said he increases so that he prevents the hunger coming back.
وأنا أرى أن الأمر يحتاج لتفصيل.
And I see that the matter, it requires
إذا
details.
كان يظن أنه سيصل بعد مدة طويلة
If you think that after a long time
يزيد قليلا عن الضرورة.
that he'll still be hungry after a long time, let him take a bit more of the dead meat.
حتى لا يحتاج إلى ميتة ثانية ولا يدري هل يقف عليها أم لا.
Until so that he does not need another dead meat. He does not know if he'll get another dead meat.
وإذا كان إذا كان وصوله قريب.
And if he knows that he's reaching the area where he's going soon,
يأكل من الميتة بمقدار وصوله.
he just eats what he needs to get him to where he's going.
ويجتهد.
And he makes effort,
وإن لم يحسن التقدير.
even if he does not get the right amount.
ويعلم الله أنه ما أحبها وإنما أخذها ضرورة.
And Allah knows that he did not want it, he just took it as a necessity.
فإن الله غفور.
Surely Allah is oft forgiving, most merciful.
ولهذا سر ذكر إن الله غفور رحيم بعد هذه الآية.
And this is the secret behind why Allah mentioned these two names. He's oft forgiving, most merciful in this ayah.
الضرورات تبيح المحظورات.
The necessities make permissible the impermissible.
المرأة المسلمة إذا أصابها مرض.
Let's say the woman, she becomes sick.
كيف تتعالج؟
How does she get the treatment?
تذهب عند الطبيبة المسلمة.
She goes to the female Muslim doctor.
إذا لم تجد الطبيب المسلم
If she does not find a female Muslim doctor,
أين تذهب؟
where does she go?
إلى الطبيب الكافر.
To the female disbelieving doctor.
إذا لم تجد الطبيب الكافر
If she does not find that,
تذهب إلى الطبيب المسلم.
she goes to the Muslim male doctor.
إذا لم تجد الطبيب المسلم
If she cannot find that,
تذهب إلى الطبيب الكافر.
she goes to the disbelieving male doctor.
لا يجوز للمسلمة أن تذهب إلى الطبيب الكافر ويوجد طبيب مسلم أو يوجد طبيبة كافرة أو يوجد طبيبة مسلمة.
It is not permissible for the Muslim woman to go to the disbelieving male doctor when there is a disbelieving female doctor, or there is a believing male doctor, or there is a believing female doctor.
وهذا عند الحاجة.
And this is of course in necessity.
لا نتكلم عن التجميل والترفيه.
We're not talking about going for beautification
نتكلم عن الحاجة.
cosmetics.
إذا تتعالج تضررت.
We're talking about necessity. If she does not get the treatment, she'll become sick or harmed.
وإذا ذهبت إلى الطبيب
And if she goes to the doctor,
فالطبيب لا يرى منها إلا مقدار الحاجة.
the doctor should not see from her body except what is needed.
إن كانت تشكو من شيء في يدها
If she complains about something in her hand,
فلا يجوز أن يرى الطبيب شيئا آخر من بدنها.
that it's not allowed on the doctor to see any other part of her body.
ولذا الضرورات تقدر بقدرها أيضا.
So the necessities are also estimated, their right estimation.
وقد ذكر الناظم ذلك في البيت الآتي.
And that's why the poet mentioned that in the next line.
فالضرورات تبيح المحظورات.
So the necessities make permissible the impermissible.
ولا بد أن تقيد هذه القاعدة.
And this principle has to be limited.
بأن الضرورة تقدر قدرها.
That the actual necessity is also estimated.
وكما يقال أن الضرورات تبيح المحظورات.
And just like it is said, the necessities make permissible the impermissible.
يقال أيضا الحاجيات تنزل منزلة الضروريات.
And also it is said the needs, they come or they are in the same situation as the necessities.
فالتأمين على السيارات مثلا.
Let's say insurance on the cars.
الأصل فيه المنع.
The origin is that is impermissible.
لا يمكن للإنسان أن يشتري سيارة إلا مع التأمين.
But it is not possible for somebody to buy or own a car without insurance.
والسيارة أصبحت من حاجيات.
And cars have become like something which are needs.
إن لم يقتدر الإنسان السيارة يكون عليه مشقة في حياته.
If someone does not have a car, he has difficulties in his life
وفي تنقلاته.
and in his moving about.
لا حرج من التأمين على السيارة.
So there's no problem of taking insurance for the cars.
لأن الحاجيات تنزل منزلة الضروريات.
Because the needs, they get into the same situation as the necessities.
متى هلك الإنسان أو بتر عضو من أعضائه أو دخلت عليه مشقة معتبرة فالضرورات تبيح المحظورات.
Whenever somebody is prone to death or losing one of his limbs or their needs, there's extreme difficulties, then the impermissibilities become permissible.
أما ما يكون فيه الترفيهيات
But the luxuries
والتحسينيات
and the pleasures,
فهذا لا يجوز بسبب ارتكاب المحرمات.
we don't make permissible the impermissibilities by this.
لا يجوز أخذ الربا من أجل تغيير أثاث البيت.
You don't take riba usually just to change the inside decoration of the house.
أو نأخذ الربا من أجل شراء البيت.
Or taking riba to buying a house, mortgage.
الأجار يسد مسد شراء البيت.
Because the renting is enough.
والأجار يكفي.
And renting is enough.
ولا يدخل حرج ومشقة على الإنسان لو كان متاجرا.
There's no difficulties or necessities or any extreme difficulties for the person who pays rent.
ولذا أخذ الربا من البنك من أجل شراء البيت حرام.
So taking the mortgage is haram.
لأنه من باب التحسينيات.
Because it falls under the luxuries and pleasures.
وعلى مثل هذه الأمور تقاس الأشياء.
And upon this or examples of these things, you make analogy or everything else like this.
من محاسن ديننا.
So from the good characteristics of our religion,
أن كل حرج لا يطيقه المسلم ويدخل عليه مشقة زائدة.
that everything which the Muslim cannot do, he has no ability, and that there is more difficult, extreme difficulty on him.
إن كانت لا تدفع إلا بالحرام.
If that it is not, this difficulty is not repelled except by impermissible thing.
تأخذ هذا المقدار
he just takes this estimated portion
ويتوسع فيه
and does not go to extensiveness,
وحال أخذك له
and your taking of that,
يكون حلالا لا حرام
it will be halal, not haram.
بالمقدار الذي تحتاجه
By the estimated portion of what you actually need.
من غير التحصيليات والترفيهيات.
And this of course is not about the luxuries or pleasures.
أنا ما عشت في ديار الكفر والحمد لله.
The Sheikh said not live in the lands of kufr, alhamdulillah.
أضرب لكم أمثلة كثيرة.
And so I cannot give you so many examples.
لو كنت بينكم عشت لضربت أمثلة أكثر.
If I'd been living with you, I've given more examples.
أضبط وأدق.
And I've given you more precise examples.
نؤكد على لابد من زيارتنا كثيرا يا شيخ.
يقول يؤكد على زيارات كثيرة إن شاء الله. يؤكد على زيارات كثيرة إن شاء الله.
جزاك الله خير. أخونا عبد المنعم صياد ماهر.
Sheikh Abdul Monim said, so this is a thing which should make the Sheikh come more often. The Sheikh says he hunted for that.
طيب بقي وقت.
باقي وقت.
خلاص إن شاء الله.
ونكمل هذا القاعدة.
تتوقفون؟
قاعدة متعلق
أنا
بها.
معكم ترغبون أنا ما أريد الأخوة يملون فقط.
متعلق
أنا
بها.
معكم الفجر إن شئتم.
كل محظور مع الضرورة.
على العصر. الآن المفروض
أظن
هو ذكر بقدر ما تحتاج.
نكمل هذا.
نكمل السابع عشر.
لأنه متعلق.
نكمل البيت السابع عشر وهو مهم.
So we complete the 17th line and it is important. يقول الناظم رحمه الله وكل محظور مع الضرورة بقدر ما تحتاجه الضرورة. He says, and during necessity every prohibition is taken by the level of necessity.
كما ترون هذا البيت
As you see this line,
يقيد القاعدة السابقة.
it specifies it restricts the previous principle.
كل
Restricts.
الضرورات تبيح المحظورات
We say that the necessities they make permissible the impermissible,
والحاجيات تنزل منزلة الضروريات.
and the needs they are all the same situation as necessities.
ولكن حال ارتكاب المحرم عند الضرورة أو الحاجية
But even during this situation of taking the impermissible thing during times of necessity,
لا بد من مراعاة هذه القاعدة.
we have to take in consideration this principle,
أن الضرورة والحاجية
that the necessities and needs
تقدر بقدرها.
they are estimated by the rightful estimation.
تحتاج المرأة أن تذهب للطبيب
The woman has to go to the doctor
فينظر إلى يدها
to look at her hand.
فلا ينظر إلا إلى يدها.
The doctor should not look except at the hand.
فيحرم أن ننظر إلى غير الحاجة
He cannot look at what is not needed
والضرورة.
and what is not necessary.
يحتاج الإنسان حتى الميت أن يأكل بمقدار الحاجة.
Somebody is forced or coerced or compelled to eat from the dead. He just takes what he needs.
حتى أن الفقهاء ذكروا تفصيلات في موضوع أكل الميتة.
That's like how also the scholars mentioned very much or many details in how to eat the dead.
فقالوا مثلا
He said example,
أولا لا يجوز للمضطر أن يأكل طعام مضطر آخر مثله.
they said first, the one who's forced who has to eat the dead, he should not eat the dead meat of someone who's also forced like him.
ولا يجوز له أن يقتل غيره ليأكل لحمه.
And it is not permissible for him to kill somebody so that he can eat from that meat.
ثم يشترط أن يستيقن الهلاك أو يغلب على ظنه أنه يهلك.
And also it is conditioned that he has certainty that he'll die if he does not eat the dead meat.
وليس مجرد جوع فقط.
It's not just hunger just like that.
لا يجوز أن يرى أن يحمل معه هذه الميتة.
It is not permissible for him to carry actually from beginning this dead meat.
فقط يأكل مقدار الضرورة.
He just takes what is needed during necessity.
فالواجب على الإنسان
So it is what is a must.
أن اضطر لحرام
If you are in necessity to do the haram,
أن يفعلها مقدار الضرورة فقط.
you should do it according to the need only.
مثلا قلنا أن المريض يحتاج التيمم.
Let's say we say like the sick person he needs to do tayammum,
وللمريض يجوز له الجمع
that he can also combine the prayers
إذا كان لا يفيق.
if he sleeps so much,
ويجوز له أن يصلي جالس.
and he can pray while sitting.
وهذا حال الضرورة.
This is only in times of necessity.
متى عوفي
Whenever he becomes
لا
good,
يجوز يصلي جالسا.
whenever he's cured, he cannot pray sitting.
يصلي قائما.
He prays standing.
متى استطاع أن يستخدم الماء
Whenever he's able to use water,
يحرم عليه أن يتيمم.
it is impermissible for him to do tayammum.
متى ما احتاج للنوم
Whenever he does not need so much sleep anymore,
لا يجوز له أن يجمع بين الصلاتين.
it is not allowed for him to combine between two prayers.
وهكذا في سائر الأشياء.
And like this in all other matters.
المرأة إن مات زوجها
A woman, if her husband is to pass away,
عليها العدة.
she has the waiting period.
والعدة 4 أشهر و10.
It is 4 months and 10 days.
وذلك مذكور في قول الله عز وجل.
That is mentioned in the statement of Allah.
والذين يتوفون منكم ويذرون أزواجا.
And those who pass away and they leave behind wives,
يتربصن بأنفسهن 4 أشهر و10.
they stay behind for themselves 4 months and 10 days.
تنظر في اليوم الذي مات فيه الزوج.
From the day, she looks at the day where the husband passed away.
وتعد 4 أشهر بالهجري.
4 months in the Hijri calendar,
ليس بالميلادي.
not the calendar of the Christian.
وفي مثل ذاك اليوم
And from that day, similar that day,
تزيد عليه 10 أيام.
she increased, after 4 months she increases 10 days.
فال4 أشهر و10
So 4 months and 10 days.
تكون هذه عدة للمرأة.
This is the waiting period for the woman.
ماذا تفعل المرأة في العدة؟
What does she do during the iddah?
لا تخرج من بيت زوجها.
She does not go out of the house of the husband.
ولا تلبس المنمق من الثياب.
And she does not wear the beautiful adornment clothes, adorning clothes.
ولا تضع على وجهها الزينة التي يرغب الأزواج بها.
And she does not apply the cosmetics which bring other people to actually want to marry her.
لا تكتحل.
She does not put the kuhl,
لا تضع المكياج.
does not put makeup,
لا تضع الطيب.
not perfume.
لا تتشوف. لا ترغب في الأزواج.
She does not have the desires or wanting other people to come marry her.
مرحلة تهيئ بها نفسها لأن تنتقل إلى زوج آخر.
This is a duration when a woman prepares herself to actually go to another husband.
هذه الفترة.
This duration,
هذه واجبة شرعا.
it is an obligatory, it's a legislated obligation.
لكن لو كانت المرأة في عينها آذى.
But let's say if the woman has an harm in her eye,
تحتاج للتكحل للتطبب لا للتجمل.
she requires to use the kuhl, the antimony, because of as a treatment, not as a beautification.
فلا حرج أن تكتحل.
Then there's no problem in this case to use the kuhl
بقدر الضرورة.
with the estimation of the need.
لو كانت هذه المرأة موظفة.
Let's say if she was someone was employed,
لا تعطى إجازة 4 أشهر و10.
she is not given a holiday or vacation of 4 months and 10 days.
أسبوع أو أسبوعين.
Let's say she was given a week or 2.
تخرج مقدار الضرورة.
She goes out just